Okay, let let's try to understand how we can use depends on annotation with a simple example. I will create a Maven project here and we'll try to understand how depends on annotation can be used. So now we need to click on this create a Maven project. So I will go with the default options. I will create a simple project and I'm going to skip the archetype selection. I don't want to have anything explicitly archetype, and I will go with the default workspace location. So I will go to the next screen. I will give the jar name artifact ID as, let's say, since we are using depends on, we'll give it as depends on, and package, let's name it, group ID, we'll name it as com dot spring annotation. Since we are trying to do with spring annotation, I will go with the default version and packaging as jar. So the other possible values of packaging are jar, pom, and var. We'll go with the jar. Once I click on finish, Maven project will be created. Okay. Now here you could see there are different folders available. One is for source main job and source main resources are like the source code, which ideally we write in resources folder. We can add the resources which are required for the source. And similarly, test source folders are for the test cases which you are planning to write for the source code. So here you can see the pom.xml. The group ID and artifact ID which we have provided as part of the Maven project creation, those will be populated accordingly here. Since we need to have the depends on functionality, we need to download the Spring context jar, which I already explained as part of the PowerPoint presentation, right? I will try to add a dependencies here. I have a dependency. So I added, once I click on save, you could see here that Maven dependencies gets downloaded and Spring context jar is downloaded. These all the remaining jars were downloaded as part of the Spring context because those are defined as a part of the pom.xml Spring context. So once let us format this. Now, since the jar is available as part of the Maven dependencies, we'll try to understand using the vehicle driver example only. Okay, let's create a driver class first. I have gone with the default package. So I will create a simple constructor here and we'll say, I will add some println statements here. We'll say in default constructor of driver class. Sorry, my bad. So this is a driver class, right? Okay, let me format this. And now I will create a vehicle class. Here as well, I will create one default constructor. We'll add some CISO here as well. We'll mention saying that in default constructor of vehicle class. We'll format this as well. Now we'll try to create one config file. I mean Spring config file. What we'll do is, like, before going to that, now vehicle is dependent on driver, right? We'll create a AutoWare like this using the AutoWare annotation. Now let's go back to the config. Here we'll add two methods. One is for the, object creation of the vehicle, and other is for the driver. First we'll create the vehicle. Let's have a method saying that vehicle get vehicle, and this method will create an object of vehicle. Okay, let us name it as vehicle. So this vehicle with this particular reference, it is available to the Spring. So we need to, similarly, we'll add one more method for driver, get driver, and we'll say return new driver. Let us name the bean as driver. So we'll try to create a dependency, I mean driver as a dependence of vehicle. So we'll try to make use of the depends annotation. So here you since vehicle is dependent on driver, I will mention the driver and the same unique name I need to use it because Spring understand with that unique name as well. So since it is a config file, we are not relying on any application context. I need to annotate this with configuration. So now configuration file is ready. Now in order to execute the flow, we'll create one main class. We'll say depends on executor. We'll say like this. I mean, this is, since it is executing, I renamed it as executor. So since we need to restart this particular config file, right? Since we are relying on annotations, we'll use annotation config application context. We'll create an object. Yeah, we'll have a different constructor side. We'll try to make use of the relevant one. Since we have config file, we'll try to make use of this particular config file, and we'll say config dot class. Now config file is registered with context. What I will say is I will try to get a bean. We'll try to get a vehicle bean. Vehicle, let's say, let's leave it like this. Since I'm trying to get the object of vehicle from the Spring IOC container, we'll execute. See, we will execute this and we'll see how the order is maintained. Okay. Now from the console, I could see that I have invoked, try to access the vehicle pin, but in the console, I got it like in default constructor of driver class and default constructor of vehicle class. So in that case, when Spring tries to get this bin, this is how it may be happened. Like it comes here, it calls here. So AutoWait is there. Still, I didn't use it, but it is calling the driver. The reason could be if you go to this depends on config here, I mentioned that depends on, right? So when I try to get this particular vehicle object, this constructor is being called. The statements which are available as part of the vehicle class will be printed, but before that, since it is depends on the driver, it will call the driver constructor. So try to see if we remove this particular depends on annotation, whether the order will be preserved or not. So let me comment this. So let me try to run this again. Okay, now you could see that when I call vehicle is printed, and so since we have removed the depends on, Spring is immediately not, I mean, creating the object of driver before vehicle. So since we have two beans which are available as part of config, those two are created separately. So this is the basic example on how depends on can be used using the annotation. Thank you.